it's Marley from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for Saturday, September 18th. So the moon is going to be in Aquarius for the beginning part of the day. It is going to be going void of course around 6:15 a.m. and will not be locking into Piscean energy until 5:23 p.m. This is a very long day of having unstable energies. This is also the full moon window growing in intensity. There is a dramatic shift anytime we move out of the Aquarian energy and into Piscean energy. Of course, the Aquarian energy is all about the intellect, all about the observer, all about freedom and independence from all the things that we realize were blocking our growth and our evolution forward. And then, because we're kind of done with the mental plane, we dive all the way down into our feels when we enter into Piscean waters. We become hypersensitive. Everything kind of feels a little bit overwhelming. We want to kind of escape our daily lives, our daily tasks and chores. We want to float into imaginary land. The moon in Pisces, although it's a great time for spiritual work and for creative work, is not the best time for having a hands-on approach with the tasks and chores in our physical realities. And because we are still in Virgo season, Virgo sits across from Piscean energy, meaning we are going to feel the push and pull. And as we build towards the peak energy of the full moon in Pisces on the 20th, you best believe we're going to go from the sun in Virgo energy that wants us to focus on the details, wants us to take action and boss up to the tasks, the roles, the responsibilities of our life, to really spend a lot of time perfecting and healing our mental plane, our heart space, reorganizing, restructuring how it is that we're moving throughout our days. And then you have the moon in Pisces that just wants to focus on the big picture, doesn't want to focus on details, doesn't want to step up to the task at hand, would rather float off into imaginary land. You know, the sun in Virgo is very earthy, very connected to the present moment. And the Piscean energy is anything but the present moment, where the Virgo energy wants to restructure and reorganize our daily lives, our tasks, our routines, our physical habits. The moon in Pisces wants us to kind of surrender to whatever is coming up, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. Both energies want to heal. However, the Virgo energy wants us to heal our physical realms and our physical bodies by rolling up our sleeves and actually doing something about it. And the moon in Pisces wants us to heal through aligning with our higher selves, aligning with the cosmos, aligning with the universe, and just simply surrendering to whatever is coming up in our souls. So it is going to be a push and pull. We can expect this, conflict, if you will, for the next couple of days until we peak under that full moon in Pisces energy. There are 11 different aspects taking place today, and 10 of them involve the moon. So it is going to be another emotionally refining type of day. We start off with Mercury, who is in Libra, making a little bit of a tension point with Neptune. So Neptune is in Pisces, retrograde. This essentially is these two planets squaring off because, of course, Mercury rules our mental plane. It rules our lower level intellect. This Neptune energy is our spirit, is our soul, is our karma, is our intuition. Where Mercury kind of wants to rely on logic and statistics and data and actual and factual proof here in our physical realms, Neptune wants to abandon all of that and really force us to trust the universe, to trust the greater plan, to trust our higher selves. Now, although this is a tension point, because of course Mercury is in Libra, trying to balance the scales, trying to communicate, trying to compromise, trying to cooperate, to make everyone happy, to see both sides of the coin, to enter into, engaging but fair debates. And then you have Neptune over here who just wants to surrender to the emotions and recognize that the emotions are swallowing us up And that when we abandon logical talk and logical thinking and logical, practicality, what's left is just a gut feeling. What this particular energy is kind of setting us up for is recognizing that right now we can tap into that Neptune energy, which is dreams, it is vision, it is healing, it is imagination, it is everything in the etheric realm, the cosmic realm, the higher sense of self. That when we tap into that and we're truly aligned with it, that we can bring it into our physical form and speak it into existence using our throat chakra, using our words, whether it's communicating through writing, text, speech, art. Those are all mediums in order to bring our vision, to bring our dreams, to bring our higher self and that channeled energy from the universe into the physical realm in which we live in. So this is a beautiful opportunity to maybe align with our higher selves and to be able to bring it into our physical form and speak it into truth, into reality, into our physical realms. Now, the moon, still in Aquarius, is going to bump into Neptune as well. And this is likely going to be triggersome to a certain extent because, again, the moon in Aquarius wants to detach emotionally. Neptune is all about feels, all about the feels. We want to think about our intuitional feels, our emotional feels, what it is that the universe is guiding us to do. There's a lot of, worldly type of energies that are guiding us to new meaning, new path, new purpose. The moon in Aquarius wants us to, yes, dream a bigger dream. Yes, act as the observer. Yes, step out of our physical realities in order to see the bigger picture, but also wants us to take our head, logic, and practicality with us. There is this beautiful opportunity where we might feel divided between our heart and our head, between logic and hope, between reality and dreams. But there is this beautiful gray area in between where we can kind of integrate these two energies together and actually start bringing some of the elements from what it is that we're observing from our higher self, what it is that we're feeling from our intuition into the physical form where we can actually, center that energy, ground that energy into the physical realm and bring it to life. We get a little bit of help here because the moon in Aquarius trines Mercury. So this is almost like Mercury had its time with Neptune, dreamy, intuitional, imaginative, bringing things to life. Then the moon kind of got the feels involved and says, yep, my intuition's on point with this. I feel meaning here. I feel purpose. I definitely want to pursue this path. And then all of a sudden, it's like the moon and Mercury need to get together and be like, oh, okay, so you're on board with this because it makes logical and practical sense. And you're on board with this because it feels good. It feels right. And it's almost like these two are bringing in a very broad perspective of what is possible. We have to keep in mind that Mercury is in Libra, air energy, and the moon is in Aquarius, air energy. And the moon is emotions and subconscious, and Mercury is our mental planes, the way we think, the way we're, processing the new information coming in. And because the earlier aspects were kind of blending our mental plane, the lower intellect, and, our higher selves of that higher intellect together, we're on the same page, mind, body, and soul here. And this is exciting because once you can kind of get those parts of you all in agreement, that is when the magic happens. And we are setting ourselves up right now, not only to speak our emotions, our wants, our needs, our desires into reality. We are in a situation where we're able to bring our dreams, our vision, our gut feelings into our physical realms and speak that into existence using our throat chakra. So the moon in Aquarius sits next to Jupiter, also in Aquarius, but retrograde. So Jupiter, as you know, is trying to push us to grow, to push us to evolve, push us to the point where we're able to be so excited for the new vision, for the new dream, for the hopes, for the desires, that we are brave enough to step out of the old. We're pushing our boundaries here. We're leaving our comfort zones. This is literally an opportunity to not only expand the way that we're thinking, but expanding the way that we feel about the actions that we've mulled over for far too long at this point because of the sun being in Virgo. We've thought about it. We're calculated. We're strategic. We've checked all the boxes off. We're using our logical intellect, but we're also using our intuition to guide us on what the next path should be. So the moon bumping into Jupiter right now, Jupiter is like our hype girl. Jupiter is saying, okay, like you got it. You got the vision. You backed it with emotion. You're speaking it into reality. Now let's get our hands dirty and let's manifest this. We get an extra backing here because the moon goes ahead and bumps into Pluto. And as you know, Pluto, the god of the underworld, really wants to highlight for us the fears, the insecurities, the doubts, the uncertainties that we are now having to contemplate before we're going to realize that, you know what, we can't let this, stunt our growth. We can't let the what ifs block us from taking a path that we know in our head and in our heart to be true. This whole interaction between the moon in Aquarius and Pluto is about, letting negative Nancy do her thing and just totally basically shit on our parade here that we got going. We were all high vibe. We were all encouraged. We were hype girled up. And now Pluto just wants to remind us of all the things that could go wrong, all the things that we're scared about, all the things that we're uncertain about still. And we have a choice point here. Again, we can sit in the negative holding pattern and let fear block our path, let our insecurities hold us up. Or we can use that as pure motivation to get out of this rut. We can use the fear to power us forward. We can use the insecurities to push us to find a certain grounding point. We can use the doubts as fuel to the fire to push us to make sure that we will be in a position to say to our negative Nancy selves, I told you so. I told you I could do it. I told you I'd be brave enough. I told you I was going to seize the opportunity. I told you that I was going to grow, and look at me go now. So we're at a good stage here, but at the same time, this is when the moon is going to go void, of course. This is when we kind of start falling apart. This is when we lose our steam. This is where we lose our stability. This is where we lose our courage and bravery. The moon in Aquarius makes a little bit of a tension point with the sun in Virgo. And as we've been discovering, when the sun in Virgo is not standing in its power, the shadow part to the sun being in Virgo is that we become nervous. We worry about everything. We're obsessively analyzing all the possibilities that likely will not happen. We are triggering our anxiety. We are getting, our stomach in a flip-flop, and now we're at odds with ourselves. We have the moon in Aquarius pushing us to be rebellious, to step out of the old patterns, the old ways of thinking, the old ways of doing. We were kind of riding high. And then Pluto, of course, brought us down. We had that choice point on whether or not we were going to stay in the same old cycle or whether we were going to bust free. And now the sun in Virgo wants to have its 2 cents on all the reasons of why maybe we should just stick with what it is that we know. Maybe we should just abandon the whole rebellion thing, abandon the whole push for wanting more for ourselves. We really allow negative Nancy to get the best part of us in this particular moment. But we have a saving grace. And the saving grace here is that the moon in Aquarius bumps into Mars, the god of war. He is in Libra, fighting for what is right. He is here to make sure that we balance the scales between our heart and our head. We balance the scales between logic and non-logic. We balance the scales between practical and hopeful. And this particular energy is going to bring us out of that negative Nancy narrative and at least get us on a level playing field once again. This is a beautiful energy to prepare us for the moon bumping into Chiron, the wounded healer. So you best believe that, like I said, like we have been exploring, just when we take one step forward in the light, the dark forces, those shadows, call us back. We have to fight for every inch that we are able to take moving towards the light. And by the light, I mean the path that is being illuminated that we agree with, mind, body, and soul. Just when we're standing in our power, something is going to happen to try and knock us off our game, to put us into submission, to make us stay in the same paralyzing fear cycle. So we have to prepare for this. How can we prepare for it? Well, we have a heads up. Now, as we watch the game of our lives unfold, we can see these situations as they arise. And hopefully you will hear my voice pop into your head and be like, oh, this is what she was talking about. Here's the dark forces trying to pull me back into the shadows, and not allow it to happen. So the moon bumping into Chiron right now wants nothing more than for us to step back in the shadows, to not be as brave, to let negative Nancy and our nervousness and the ifs, ands, and buts to paralyze us, not moving forward, not growing, not improving, just to stay where it is that we're at and to be comfortable being uncomfortable. But guess what? We want more for ourselves than that. What we're going to see happen after a very uncertain day, a tug of war of energies, and conflict between our heart and our head, what we are going to find is a sudden shift where suddenly we put all the pieces together and we put negative Nancy in her spot. The moon shifts into Piscean waters. And although this can be hypersensitive, although this can be, very overwhelming at times, the moon goes ahead and makes a beautiful aspect with Uranus. And as you know, Uranus rules over the Aquarian moon that just kind of completed her lesson. So the moon in Pisces is coming in strong. We are aligned with our intuition. We have a vision that we're holding. We're excited about the future. We're in touch with the energies of the cosmos, of the universe. And when we bump into Uranus right now, the Great Awakener, you best believe that we are taking another step into the light. We are not letting the earlier nervousness and worry and anxiety get us down. Now we recognize what happened. We recognize the pull from the dark forces pulling us back into that paralyzing fear. And we are standing up and saying, you know what? I trust myself. I trust the plan. I trust the universe. And mostly, I trust that the feeling that I have within me is pulling me in the right direction because it is calling for meaning and purpose. It is calling me to pursue this path regardless of my fears and insecurities. Why? Because the vision is so strong. The dream is so real that I can hear it. I can feel it, I can smell it, I can taste it. The moon goes ahead and bumps into Mars. Mars, again, the god of war, really using a lot of this frustration, a lot of this irritability, a lot of this aggression in the mental plane. Now we are literally taking our magical sword and cutting through the negative cords that negative Nancy has spun in our head. Nope, we're not thinking about the fact that we might fail. Nope, we're not thinking about the fact that we might not deserve this. Nope, we're not thinking about the fact that we are afraid to make change. We are cutting, slaying through these negative narratives. Bam, bam, bam. And just as we are standing on the battlefield of our mental plane, recognizing all of the old narratives that we have just severed for good, the moon in Pisces squares the true node. Now, a square is not a pleasant energy. It is a tension point, but from tension comes great change. The true node wants us to remind ourselves of why all of this energy, all of this fighting, all of this spiritual war action is worth it. And that is because the true node knows that our soul is ready to reach its fullest potential. It knows the opportunities that await us the minute that we abandon our old selves to step into our power. And because the moon is in Pisces, because we are so connected to our higher selves, to our intuition, to the subtle energies of our environment, to the light codes coming in from the cosmos, from the universe's validation points and markers, we are in tune more with our gut, more with our feeling than the logical, egoic, mental plane that we've been stuck in for a very long time. And because of this, like I said, a square is a tension point. It is a conflict, but it leads to great change. And right now, the change that we are kind of leaning all the way into is recognizing that we have to ground, we have to pour all of our energy into holding this dream, into holding this vision so freaking strong that every single time those dark force energies tries to come and pluck us out of the light and drag us back into the shadows of fear and insecurity, that we hold that vision, that we align with that vision, with that dream, and that the frustration, the aggravation, the fear, the insecurities, that we use that as motivation to push ourselves to stand up, to fight once again, to take another step into the light.